to our latest vlog installment. So if you are new around here and you just happen to have stumbled across this video and you've been searching across the depths of YouTube, I'm Hannah.
I'm Michael.
And together we are
Adventures with Hannah and Michael.
Funny that. If you have watched our other videos, then welcome back. Thank you for tuning back in. The purpose of this particular video is just off the back of our latest vlog series, which was at Disneyland Paris. And we're just going to give sort of our top 5.
Yeah, top 5 tips for anyone that's planning their first Disneyland trip or their first one in years. So it was your first ever time at Disneyland Paris.
Yep.
It was my first time since I was a kid. So we thought it'd be useful just to bring some of the knowledge that we got while we were there and then pass it on to you as what we think will be helpful when you're looking at your trip.
Definitely. So let's get into it. So our first tip, now these aren't in any particular order, it's just how we've kind of scribbled them down. But our first one that we would say is to consider staying off site.
Yeah, now this is quite funny because when we were in Orlando, the first we've been to 2 trips in Orlando. One of them is a full vlog series, but 2 times we've had to stay on property because you really want to stay on Disney property, and I think it's basically meant that we'll always stay on Disney property in Orlando, but Paris is a bit different.
Yes, so in Orlando we have found it helpful to be on property because neither of us drive. We do have driving licenses, but we don't actively drive. So we're a little bit limited in terms of transportation options, and obviously there's cost of Uber, etc. if you're off-site. Now with Disneyland Paris, whole other ballgame. It is so much of a smaller area that's covered. So obviously the actual Disneyland hotels are a stone's throw away. You can easily walk to them, and they offer the shuttle buses too. But for the off-site properties, there are about, 5 hotels?
Yeah, so the Disney neighbourhood hotels, one of them that we stayed at was Campanile, Val de France, and that's part of the neighbourhood hotels. And there's like 5 of them in a big, huge line just outside of Disney. And yeah, it's within a half an hour walking distance of the parks.
Yes, indeed. Which we know because we did that walk on several occasions. There is a free shuttle bus as well, which runs from the hotels to the bus station just outside Disneyland Paris. Now, the thing to note with the shuttle bus is it's obviously free, which is fantastic. However, it does serve every single one of the hotels there, so it can get quite busy. So it's worth noting, but we really found it helpful being able to walk. That was revolutionary for us, being able to do that.
Yeah, so first thing in the morning when you're heading to the parks, or last thing at night when you've just watched the fireworks, they're going to be very busy, especially after the fireworks. It's chock-a-block, so you might be waiting for the second or third bus to take you, and by that time you've probably waited more than half an hour, whereas you could have just done a wee walk. It's a nice walk, it's pathed, there's traffic lights we need to cross over roads, so it's not as if it's in...
It's well lit as well.
Yeah, it's not if they're saying don't walk to these places, there's actively a route to take you to these places on foot. So yeah, we'd highly recommend it. If you're looking at the hotels and you're thinking the Disneyland ones are a little bit pricey, the ones that are in the neighbourhood of Disney, very
Definitely
good.
Worthwhile.
Basic, clean, free breakfast, free shuttle. Ours had a Starbucks, had a petting zoo, had a little shop for anything that you needed. It had everything that we wanted for a base when we're just waking up, going straight to the park, and then come back at night to go to sleep.
Absolutely. And for the particular hotel that we were at, we would say it was very much geared up for families, but we stayed there as a couple. I'm sure if you were going on your own, or if you were going as a group of adults, that'd be perfectly fine too. But yeah, very reasonably priced. As Mike said, the breakfast was included for our particular deal that we got too. There was a really good luggage store on site, which was free as well, which was super helpful to have. If you want more information on that, if you head to our travel day video, we talk you through all of that in the process of using it. But yeah, there was just a lot in terms of price, proximity, and the quality of the hotel. Definitely give that a lot of consideration, because as always, accommodation is quite a big part of your cost when you go on a holiday. And the Disneyland hotels, though they are lovely, we did find they were rather pricey.
Yeah, and we're not saying don't visit Disneyland hotels, because you can.
Yes.
You can just go into the hotels and wander around. We wandered around Disneyland Hotel, wander around Art of Marvel. If you want to go check them out, you're more than welcome to go in. They don't stop you from going in. So yeah, even if you like a bit of resort hopping,
you
go
can
around.
still enjoy that.
Yeah, and have a chill time. There's bars, there's cafes, you can go sit in them. But yeah, just the ones outside of there now. We're not saying where you should book your hotel, but we got ours, just so you know, through attraction tickets direct.
Yes.
So we got our park tickets and the hotel through that. So they actually have all the Disney hotels on offer, and they have the neighbourhood ones as well. So you'll be able to see which ones are neighbourhood on our website. And then if you know the name of it, you can also compare to other websites that sell them as well.
You can, of course, as Mike said, you can go direct to them, but something like that was quite good for us just to be able to kind of see that comparison and have them all together. And in terms of the deals that were on offer, that was the best suited one to us. So yes, definitely give some consideration to staying off property if you are heading to Disneyland Paris.
So what is number 2?
Number 2 is to beware of construction. Now, Walt Disney Studios in particular at this moment in time has a lot of construction going on while they are preparing to bring in the new Frozen Land, the new Lion King ride, the expansion to this Toy Story area.
Yeah, and then there's a few other areas in the park. Like there's a big studio that's been closed off at the front. You used to be able to walk through, but that's all getting renovated as well. So just be aware that some of the stuff is opening next year, but while you go now, Studios Park is full of construction walls. Now, we would say we still had a great time there, but just beware. When you go there, it's going to be crowded because there's not a lot of walk through.
It's certainly
areas.
narrowed down the areas where you're walking through, or as Mike says, it kind of limited the bits were open. We also found a lot of the time you went down one way, there was no signage to say anything other than that, and you came to a dead end and had to about turn. It's just to account for the fact that it might take you slightly longer to get from A to B if you end up being like us and you stumble across these bits that are shut off, or it is that bit busier when you're going through the sort of main thoroughfares because everybody's heading the same way.
It didn't spoil the fact that what studio still has some fantastic rides. It still has Chris's Coaster, still has Tower of Terror, the Marvel Land, still has Ratatouille, Toy Story is a lot of fun. We still had a great time there, and it's going to be very exciting what they're building, and we can't wait to go back once it's all open and enjoy the park, because I think it's going to be a fantastic park once it's open. But right now it does have the reputation of being Disney's worst park because there's so little to do in there, and that means that all the big rides that are there are going to have longer wait times. So yeah, just beware of that. And the construction as well in Disney Village, there's a lot of new stuff going on in there as well. So
I think there, maybe at this point when we're releasing this video, I think a few bits might have started to reopen again compared to when we went at the start of February. But again, it's just things to kind of factor in. There was a few bits in Disneyland Park as well that were kind of shut off, and again, a lack of signage did kind of drive us a little bit crazy, but it's just so that you basically have that awareness. But as Mike mentioned, don't let it necessarily put you off going right now. Apologies, we've got a cat who's trying to come into the picture here. You're not going to knock the camera over, you mittens? No. Wouldn't let it put you off going. However, it's something to give consideration to if you would rather, say, not go in 2025 and wait till 2026 and these new bits are open. But on the flip of that, it might be rather busy when that new stuff opens too.
Because a Disney trip can be expensive. There might be once every 2-3 years that you can afford to go. And we can't.
Or it might be a one and done for you, depending on your circumstances.
Yeah, and we couldn't say that if you're going to go this year, would it be better waiting off to go next year when all the new stuff is open. Obviously with the new stuff it's going to bring bigger crowds because everyone's going to want to see it, so you've got to weigh up those two things. Do you just want a bit of Disney magic now, or do you want to wait for all the new stuff? Even taking into consideration in Disneyland Park, the rides are under construction as well, so Big Thunder's currently down.
Sadly, so we missed out on that.
Yeah, so one of the best rides in Disneyland Park is actually closed for a long time. So yeah, if you're really hoping to do the Paris Big Thunder, you might need to take in consideration it's going to be better going next year. But there's still great things going on in the park, so
definitely
don't want to put it off if you just want some Disney magic.
But it's good to be aware of these things ahead of time. So what are we going with for number 3?
So number 3 is keep refreshing that app for your dining reservations. Now, since we've been back, we've been posting some of our photos on social media such as Instagram, lovely plug, we have an Instagram.
Yes.
And also
I'll put the handle here.
Facebook. And a lot of questions we got was around the restaurants that we went to, so downtown and Waltz. How did you get into downtown? Now, the answer is you kept looking on the app, refreshing until that space.
It was just some random evening. I happened to just go on to check it, as I had been doing periodically, and lo and behold, there was a reservation for downtown sprung up. Now, it was 10 o'clock at night, so obviously that's not going to suit everybody. However, for us, we decided we'll book it. If something happens to come up at a different time on a different day, then we potentially would end up selecting that one instead and cancelling the booking that we had. But for us, it was very much priority that we wanted to be able to go and do that restaurant. So regardless of what time it was at, we were going to go for it.
And don't worry if it is a later reservation that you get and you're worried about downtown, and you're worried that, if I go at half 10 at night, it's close to them closing, they're going to be clearing all the stuff away, there's not going to be a big selection. When we went, it was still jam-packed in that restaurant. Definitely. They were still making loads of fresh stuff. We got everything that we wanted. There was nothing that was empty. They had plenty of the Forest Hammers, they had plenty of the Groots, they had plenty of the little mini burgers, and they were making fresh ones in front of you. They had everything. So don't worry that if you get a later reservation, you're not going to get the same experience, because every guest that goes gets the same sort of buffet. So whether it's Waltz or downtown, now we thoroughly recommend both those restaurants or any other one that you see on the app that suits your needs, because it's the ones that are character dining.
Yes.
They'll also go pretty quick. So if you do miss out on one of those prize dining reservations, don't despair.
Yes.
Keep refreshing the app.
Keep refreshing the app. Now, obviously, that's not a guarantee that it is definitely going to come up. Unfortunately, it's a bit luck of the draw. I think in our instance, someone must either cancelled their booking that they had and that got released, or for whatever reason they were able to provide more slots for that day. However, one thing to bear in mind, we haven't exercised it ourselves personally. However, we have seen a number of people say that it is possible to go up to the reception desk and inquire as to if there are any reservations available. Now, obviously, again, that's never going to be a guarantee either. The staff can only give you what's there, but there's no harm in just asking that question and seeing what comes of it.
Plans change, so you might, even yourself, you might go and you say, I want to go to Pim's Kitchen, and then actually, I don't want a buffet for lunch, you go somewhere else and you cancel your booking. Somebody else in the park will do that, and then that opens that slot up for you if you want to go to downtown. So don't give up, is what we say.
Definitely.
And the restaurants are definitely worth it. Downtown, Waltz, exceptional. So we've not tried any other restaurants, but we're sure they're just as good.
Absolutely. But two very, very tasty sit-down menus. They, as a sort of side note to that, they were €55 each. So not the cheapest thing, but we would say certainly for what we were after, I would say we've got our money's worth for it. Yeah,
definitely. If you have seen the vlogs, you'd have seen the food that was on offer, especially downtown. They had something for everybody. All palates. They had, because it's all split in sections, so American, Italian, Asian, they had something for everyone. And the restaurant was absolutely jam-packed. So
certainly very popular. So number 4 is to decide your priorities. Now, we would say for we had a 2-day ticket, 2-day park hopper ticket. We managed to do everything that we wanted to do, that was available to do. So as we mentioned earlier on, Big Thunder unfortunately was shut while we were there. But in terms of the rides that were actually available, attractions that were available, we did everything that we wanted to do. Now, in terms of sort of rides, our sort of 2 biggies that we definitely wanted to get done and we knew attract quite high wait times was Crush's Coaster and Tower of Terror. Now, with that, our plan of action that we decided ahead of time is that we were going to rope drop Walt Disney Studios to enable us to do those. Now, the way that ended up turning out, we did Crush's Coaster one morning and Tower of Terror the other, because by the time we were done with Crush's Coaster on that first morning, Tower of Terror was up at 90 plus minutes.
Yeah, so that's the thing with the Studios park, as we're saying about construction, is everyone wants to go on these rides. So by the time the park's open, once you've done crushes, you're heading to tower, and that's where you get busy time. So if you have 2 free days, if you have 3 days, you can spread it out. You should be able to get everything done. But if you're looking to do all the rides, you're looking at trying to prioritize which is the big one for you. Try and hit that as early as possible. If you don't have rope drop, when you're staying at Disneyland hotels, your guests are going to get in before you. So yeah, just beware that when you get into the park, if you don't have that early entry.
Yeah, because it's an hour before, I think, in Paris that Disneyland's hotel guests get. So again, while we're saying consider staying off property, that's obviously other things you need to factor in as well. If something like the early entry is something that's really important to you, that's something that you have to weigh up with that. But yes, in terms of making sure that you can kind of get these big ticket rides done, you definitely need to sort of decide in terms of what you're most keen to do.
Yeah, but we're more ride people, so we're the adrenaline junkies who want to go on all the roller coasters on the big rides. But for you, it might be a case of you want to do all the characters.
Yeah.
So you might decide that you need to go to Disneyland first because you want to meet the Winnie the Pooh characters, you want to get in line for Mickey, that's what you want to do. So you might decide that Disneyland's the first place you want to go to, whereas we are the thrill rides, we always want to go to studios first to get that out of the way first before heading to Disneyland, because that's where you want to be at night because you got the fireworks. So we're thinking studios first, do the big rides, hop over, but midday, then you've got the chance of seeing the parade, fireworks, and go on some rides in Disneyland.
So with you mentioning the parade there as well, so on our first day we opted to go to the parade because we really wanted to be able to see it.
Great parade as well.
It was.
Very, very good.
Definitely worthwhile seeing. Now at the moment it is only one showing of the parade. Now I believe when it goes into the nicer weather, or certainly for peak holiday time, it should increase to 2 showings a day. But with that, it was just the one, so it's kind of a case you decide whether you want to see it or you don't want to see it. We opted for that, as I said, for our first day. And then on the second day, what we chose to do was to take advantage of a lot of people being at the parade. And we headed over to Discoveryland to do Hyperspace Mountain while it had a super low wait time. So we got on, twice?
Twice.
Back to back?
About 5-minute wait each time, and then we also got on to Buzz as well. So you can hit out a few rides when the parade's on. And get even smaller wait times. Wait times over there aren't massive.
No, we're pleasantly surprised with that. But again, in terms of deciding your priorities, you can kind of make things work to your advantage. If it's a case of you are very much a parade person that you want to go and see that as many times as possible, go prioritise that. But on the flip side, while that's on, you can go and you can do rides and you can take advantage of those even lower wait times. Yeah,
I think that's a great move, is trying to, whether it's that side of the park where Hyperspace Mountain is, or on the other side of the park where you've got your Indiana Jones, Phantom Manor, you can always go and hit both of them out and there'll be 5-minute waits. Yeah.
I think as well, one thing that will kind of add to that too is in terms of, it's a bit of a side note. It's not totally in terms of deciding your priorities, but it is a little bit in terms of you can make use of single rider on certain rides too. So obviously it might be a case that it's really important for you and your group to go on together and to have that experience as a couple, as friends, as a family, and make sure that you're all together for that. However, you can then get on the rides a bit quicker if you're happy to do that single rider. So we did that for Crush's Coaster, for example, on that first morning. The standby waits for the standard queue was up at about 85 minutes. Whereas the single rider was, I think, posted at 35 and we got on in about 25, I want to say. So you can save yourself quite a bit of time. But again, it's kind of coming down to what's important to you.
Because your priority might be that you want to capture all these moments and you want to get all these ride photos and you want it to be your family, that you get all in the ride photo at once. Whereas if you're not really caring about your photos, you're not really caring about getting those ride photos.
Not really caring about your family, you're quite happy to go off and do your own thing.
Then single rider is fantastic. So same with Ratatouille as well. So it's a half an hour wait sometimes, but a single rider will just be a walk on. So yeah, if you've got 1 day in the parks, you've got 2 days and you're trying to get everything done, really utilise the single rider on the rides that have it. Even if you go on Tower, you might not think, oh, this doesn't have an actual single rider line. Sometimes when you get near the front, they'll actually shout out saying, do you have any ones? Do you have any ones? And they'll drag you to the front, so there is technically a single rider there as well. But
as we had a fantastic experience in Tower of Terror with the gent that was the cast member in there was having fantastic fun with declaring any single riders, single riders. There was one gent that got taken through, put his hand up to say, "Oh yeah, I'm a single rider." Don't think he quite knew what he was letting himself in for when he was getting dragged through. But yes, certainly that's a very handy bit of information, I think, to know. But yeah, just as a whole, just ahead of time, have a think what your priorities are so that you can make sure you get the most out of your trip.
So here we are, number 5. It's the big one.
The big one.
This is the same for every single holiday that you go on. Plan and research. Very, very important.
Very, very important indeed. Certainly, as you said, for any holiday, but Disney holidays in particular, we could not push planning enough. It is gonna, I know it sounds a little bit boring saying to plan and research your holiday, but in our opinion that is going to make sure that you have the most enjoyable time and you can get the most out of your holiday.
But I would say, you're saying it's boring, but I actually think that part of the run up to a Disney holiday is the planning, and it actually gets really fun.
Yes, we certainly enjoy it.
Watching the vlogs, doing the research, finding the bits of food that you want to eat, looking at the attractions you want to go on, making that sort of daily planner of, oh, this is what we want to do this day, this is what we're doing that day. If you want to go into the centre of Paris on some days that you've got there, you can plan and research that. How you get there from the train station, very easy, by the way, very easy to get there.
Yes. We definitely recommend taking that trip while you're there.
And what's great is you need to download the Disneyland Paris app as soon as possible, because you can use that running up to your trip. You can see all the wait times. So 2 weeks before your trip, 1 week before your trip, just keep logging on, seeing what the wait times are for the rides that you want to go on.
Yep. At the same day, similar time as what you're wanting to kind of do things, or you can sort of look throughout the day, see where there's the highs, where there's the lows, and again that's going to help you have that sort of planning your priorities, having that plan of action in place. Yeah,
and then you can also search on the app to see which rides are closed when you go in as well. So just another thing that we said earlier on with construction, if it's a big thing that you want to do a ride, then you look on the app a couple weeks beforehand and it's closed. That might impact your trip, so just be prepared.
They do usually publish things quite far in advance. It's maybe worthwhile even doing a little Google just to see what's kind of anticipated to be shut even in that coming year if you're looking at planning your trip before you actually book anything. Just as Mike says, if something's important to you, you don't want to get there and then realise that's closed, because that's going to be a little bit disheartening. So make use of that.
If you're going in the summer, have a look at, in a build-up you could look at school holidays and Easter, for example, because that's going to give you a sort of indication of what it's going to be like in the parks in those days. See what the wait times are, and then you'll see, oh, that ride's the one that we definitely want to do. Okay, we'll try and hit that one first thing in the morning. Oh, I want to meet Mickey first. Oh, it's an hour wait in the morning.
Yeah.
Then you're prepared for that. So always plan and research so you know what you're getting in for.
Or as we mentioned in point number 4 as well, if say you're going to take advantage of when the parade's on over in Disneyland, if you then say want to go and do Hyperspace Mountain, you can have a look at what times the parades are on. You can then also have a look at kind of what the wait times are showing during those times too. It's something that we certainly do, and it's something that we would advocate for. As a sort of side note to that, because obviously we mentioned about doing rides while the parade's on, because that's quite a big people eater. A lot of people, certainly in our experience anyway, of having gone to Walt Disney World, a lot of people will enjoy the fireworks and stand and take that in. Other people will take advantage of that time to go and knock out as many rides as they can, because the wait times are typically pretty low because most people are away watching the fireworks. Now, with that, what's worth bearing in mind that we weren't aware of before we went is that Fantasyland, at least Fantasyland, all gets closed off in Disneyland Paris, because we believe that's where they set off the fireworks from, rather than it being at a further distance. So just so that you know that if you were planning to go knock off certain rides during that time, you are going to be a little bit limited.
And I think they shut it off prior to the fireworks as well, in preparation for it. So just beware if you're like, oh, we'll go and hit Snow White or Pinocchio, but like half an hour before the fireworks, just be prepared to start shutting things off. So you might be a bit disappointed. Again,
where that app comes in handy, that you can have a look at when the fireworks are, and you can then have a little look on that app to see what's open, what's not, what the wait times are looking like.
And when the park closes, because we got caught out one night because we went on a Thursday night saw the fireworks at one time, went back on Friday.
It was 9 o'clock, wasn't it? And that was park closing time. Fireworks were at 9 o'clock and then the park closes following that.
And then we went the following night thinking, oh, it's going to be exactly the same. Why wouldn't it be? It's a Friday night. But it actually closed it an hour earlier that night.
Yep.
So we were a bit caught out. We were thinking, oh, well, we can't do those rides. We've got to go get in line for the fireworks instead.
Which, hands up, that was our poor planning. So just make sure that you are conscious of things like that too. And obviously the sort of closing times for the parks will vary through the year in terms of the sort of season that you're in. We were there off peak in February, so that is going to be different to if you go in the height of summer during the school holidays. So again, where that comes into play of looking at things in advance and planning according to your trip time.
Yeah. Another biggie is that we all love rides, we all love meeting the characters, but one of the big things for Disney parks is the food. So another good thing about the app is you can look at menus for all the quick service restaurants, sit-down restaurants on the app. So you can prepare yourself in advance. What do you want to get? Let's have a look at the menus and then decide when you're there. Sometimes you might go when the restaurants might be closed.
Yes, which we did find when we were there. There was quite a number of the quick service locations were closed altogether, or they seemed to close quite early, maybe about 5 o'clock. So if you were planning to go for dinner there, then you're a little bit limited in what you can get.
Yeah, and if this is your first trip to Disneyland Paris and you've been prior to, say, Orlando or California, it is true what people say. The food isn't as good or isn't as varied as it in Paris is there. So you do need to prepare yourself that it's a bit more basic. You know, it's going to be your chicken tenders, your pizzas, your burgers, your burritos. Very good burrito. We had one from the Coco restaurant. Very, very nice. But it's not going to be, you're not going to Epcot and you're going to have all these varied dishes from around the world. You actually have Christmas market stalls that are exactly the same food in each park, serving crepes, chocolate covered strawberries, potatoes. It is basically just like you're at a Christmas market with the booths. So just be prepared to, the food isn't going to be as magical as it is in Paris. And even if you're like us, and one of the favourite things about being on Main Street is having a Starbucks, beware that you're going to have to get that before you get into the parks because they do not have one in either Disney park.
No, they have one in Disney Village, but in the parks it was Lavazza coffees and hot chocolates, etc. they were serving, which was fine. But yeah, we were going expecting there to be a Starbucks, which we believe there had been one, but that seems to have been closed since that point.
Yeah, and I think that if your family is, say, a bit fussier, there's Disney Village for restaurants. So if you don't mind waiting a bit longer, just be prepared that if you go straight after fireworks, a lot of people are going to have the same idea and go to the restaurants then.
Yes.
But there is, you know, your McDonald's, there's Five Guys, there's Vapiano's, there's chain restaurants in
Rainforest Cafe, right?
Rainforest Cafe, Earl Sandwich is there as well. So there is chain restaurants there that, you know, if you want to just grab a bite on the way back to your hotel, you can just go and grab a McDonald's. The train station has a Pret a Manger as well. So there's options.
So we did end up doing that on one of the nights. We grabbed some pastries to take back to the hotel room for the morning because we were getting up early. It's because it must have been the Friday night because we were then getting up early to go to Paris on the Sunday morning. So we opted on the Saturday morning. So we opted to skip the hotel breakfast. So we grabbed some pastries from Pret and then took that back. So there's obviously options there. In terms of the food as well, so obviously we've touched on the fact that we went to both Waltz, which is in Disneyland, and Downtown Restaurant at the Art of Marvel Hotel. With those two, have a look at the menus ahead of time because, as I mentioned, it's not the cheapest of experiences, so you want to make sure that the food is going to suit you. As Mike mentioned, the food in Downtown, tons of selection. I don't think you could really go wrong there, from the fussiest eater to the most sort of refined palate. There's going to be something that suits everybody. Whereas Waltz was a little bit more... Fine dining is probably a bit of an exaggeration, but it was certainly a little bit more on the fancier side.
It looks like fine dining, but it's still chili and rice. It's still a chicken pot pie. Yeah, like a chicken breast.
And a cranberry sauce. Super tasty.
Delightful.
Absolutely
amazing. And then desserts were your standard desserts. So yeah, I think it looks fancier, but it's still palatable for most people, there's going to be an option there for you. But just be aware that it is a lot of money, whereas if you just prefer to have something from the quick service restaurants, have a look at those menus as well.
Yeah, we didn't think the prices were too bad for the quick service.
No.
I think most of the stuff, certainly the little booths and things, were probably about the €6 mark for the sort of most expensive ones. When we went to Casa de Coco, that was a little bit more pricey, but it wasn't atrocious. But yeah, we didn't think the prices were too bad. But again, that's something you can plan in advance, because those menus have the prices against them on the app, so you can have a little look at that. Yeah. We also got asked recently about allergens. Now, we're not affected by that personally. However, having done a little bit of sort of looking into it, it doesn't seem like the menus... Or sorry, I think probably when you look at the menus, it might give you a bit of information on it, but if not, when you go to the restaurant, you can ask for an allergen list and they'll provide that for you. But having a look, the restaurants, certainly the proper restaurants, I'm not quite sure about the quick service, they do also have, basically across all of them, they've kind of got a very small list of dishes which basically cover all the major allergens they should then be safe to eat. They have a list of that on the website and on the app, so it's worthwhile having a little look into as well if that's something that affects you or someone in your party.
Yeah, and what we did beforehand is we googled, top 10 Disneyland snacks.
Yep.
Looked on YouTube, the best restaurants in Disneyland Paris, all that sort of stuff, just to plan it and then see what there is, then make a list of, okay, we need to get this snack in this park, we need to get this, where is it, we need to get that. That's why we tried the Groot cookie from Marvel, because we found that out. The bitter ball in Disneyland Park, I know you weren't a big fan of it, I thought it was delicious, but that's because we saw it in somebody's video that we're like, oh, we need to try that. So yeah, food options may not be the best, but there is some very tasty stuff there, especially in the restaurants. So yeah, if you plan it, see what you want, and then...
It means you know where you're going as well. You know where these places are located on the map, and you can kind of plan that into your day as to when you're going to head to that. If you're just going to do a bit of a sort of snacky morning and then have a meal in the afternoon, vice versa, you can kind of figure it out. Yeah. But again, planning just helps everything go.
But then again, there's some stuff you don't plan for. So one night we were just watching the fireworks and we were like, oh, fancy some popcorn. And then it was absolutely delicious and we never thought we were going to get that popcorn.
That's very true. Yeah. However, something again that you can't necessarily plan for is that the queue for the popcorn took me about 30 minutes. So that wasn't necessarily anticipated. It worked out rather nicely because we got it perfectly fresh, because they made it hot and fresh. They made it just as I got there because they'd ran out. Now, a sort of extra tip I would say is if you're after getting popcorn for the fireworks, maybe head into Tomorrowland, because they've got the carts there and they are a lot quieter because it's not on that main sort of hub area. So it's worthwhile having a little think as to where you're gonna grab that stuff from.
Yeah, and one of the big things that you want to plan and research is the nighttime spectacular show. Yes. So beware that it does have fireworks, it does have projections, water features. One of the big draws of it is the Disney drones. Now, the drones do not run every night if there's inclement weather. Now, we had 2 perfect nights weather-wise.
To be fair, the Friday had been a little bit rainy, so we kind of thought that there was a good chance it wouldn't go ahead, but the Thursday had been perfectly clear skies and dry.
And the drones did not run. So then they announced 2 minutes beforehand, so you're not going to know in advance. You're going to know 2 minutes when you're already standing waiting for it, the drones...
It's an adapted version, so they don't even explicitly say it's the drones, but they say an adapted version of the show. You can kind of read between the lines. Now, Disney Tales of Magic was fantastic. When we watched it, in both nights it was without the drones, so it's a beautiful show. We'd definitely recommend you to see that. But again, it's just a case of, unfortunately, that's not something you can necessarily plan for. It's just a case of cross your fingers and hope for the best. So I think it's just kind of a case of managing your expectations on that, probably especially if you've got little ones with you and they're super excited about seeing it. Just kind of manage that so that we've not got any upset.
Yeah, and consider where you're going to stand and watch the show. Now, there is projections down Main Street, which are really fun. So we would recommend if you've got a couple nights. And you get the
Snope as well if you're stood on Main Street.
Yep, if you've got a couple of nights, check out one on Main Street. Now, it does get busy there. It'd be closer to the castle and get a real close-up view you're going to need to get there a couple of hours before it starts and park your bum where you want to stand. But yeah, one of the things that we'd say is we got very lucky. In our trip, the 2 nights that we were in the parks, we only got the fireworks and the light show, fantastic. But on a third night, we went, let's just wander around Disneyland Hotel before our dining reservation at downtown.
Yeah, so we didn't have park tickets for that day. We'd been in the centre of Paris, came back, and yeah, we hadn't had a chance to have a look around the Disneyland Hotel yet. So we had that wander.
Yeah. I'd recommend that as well. Just go in. If you're not going to stay there, just have a look around because it's
We're big on resort hopping. We love being nosy and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, and we went past the window which had a view of the castle, so we're kind of like, I wonder if we'll be able to see anything here. And on that night, the drones ran, so we got some great footage of the drones from inside Disneyland Hotel. Now, when people saw that they could see it from there was people like, not too many people, just like 2 or 3 other families that were also watching it by the windows. So if you want a quieter area that you may be able to see something from, you might want to check it out. Again, it doesn't run every night, so if you go in there thinking, I'm going to see a drone from here, it might not happen, so just bear that in mind. But it was a Saturday night, and our conspiracy theory is, no truth to this is just our theory, that the weekends you have a better chance of the drones running because that's when the bigger crowds are there.
Well, I think we kind of looked at it in terms of the fact that the week that we were there, it was prior to school holidays, so it's maybe not as busy as it would be if it's during school holidays or at the weekend. Again, not a guarantee at all, but our theory would be if you're there at the weekends or you're there during school holidays, you probably have an increased chance of seeing them because they have larger crowds in the park, and it's potentially more worthwhile is probably a bad way to put it, but I think there's probably more incentive for them to put it on. And again, I don't know exactly how it works, but we did kind of think there wasn't a ton of cast member presence when we were there, and I would assume they probably take on more staff during peak periods, and it's probably similar for people operating the drones as well. Again, speculation, but just kind of our thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, and one of the things that we seem to think that not a lot of people seem to know about this park, and we are baffled by that, is there's a dragon. There's a dragon.
There is a dragon.
The castle. The moves. We're amazed that people don't know that when they're there.
Yeah. So again, that comes into doing your research, having a bit of a Google, having a watch people's vlogs. Obviously, if you want to watch our vlogs, amazing. Thank you very much. But there are also plenty of other vlogs out there too. But yeah, have a little look, because something like that, it's unique to Disneyland Paris. You don't want to miss out on things like that, but it's not like there's a massive signpost saying dragon this way. It's just if you happen to walk down that bit to the side of the castle, there is a little sign there, but if you don't know to go down that way, you're not necessarily going to end up coming across it. So that's us. That's our top 5 sort of hints and tips, helpful bits of information for Disneyland Paris.
Now, we would say that if we've not covered anything, or if there's anything that was in the vlogs that you've seen and you want to know more about, pop us a question in the comments. We go back to every single comment that we get.
We do.
So if you have anything to expand on this, like the walk from a hotel, anything at all but inside the parks,
pop a comment down below and we'll get back to you.
If we know the answer, we'll tell you. If we don't know the answer, we'll make it up anyway. No, I won't. We'll try and find you the answer.
We will, yes. But yeah, please do that. And then obviously if you have enjoyed this video, if you pop us a little like and subscribe as well, is always very welcome. And then we've also got an exciting series coming up later in the year when we're heading on our honeymoon and we're going to California.
Yeah, so Disneyland vlogs from there. HHN, Universal, Oogie Boogie, fingers crossed we'll get that. So yeah, all that's to come in September. So yeah. But before we go, we're going to do a couple of fun things before we go. So what was your top ride from Disneyland Paris, would you say?
Top ride, I think I would have to say, was Crush's Coaster. Really, really enjoyed it. It's a unique ride. It's only Disneyland Paris that's got that. And I think, as we said at the time, the fact that it was a little bit reminiscent of Guardians, which is our favourite Walt Disney World ride. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What about you?
I'm going to go a bit controversial here. I loved all the roller coasters. They're all amazing. But in Orlando that I've been the past 2 times, it wouldn't be one of my favourite rides. But I think there's something different about it here there in Paris. We actually had to ride it over and over again, and that was Pirates. There's something about the Pirates in Paris. There's something a bit magical about it. The fact that you go through the restaurant, which we now really want to go back to because we think it was great.
Yeah.
And when you're going past in the boat, there's a restaurant there. It kind of reminds you of Epcot when you're going through Three Caballeros, and there's a restaurant on the side. The smell of it, people say about the smell in Orlando, we actually think the smell in Paris is even better than that. There's some added animatronic bits to it. There's some secret hidden characters there that weren't in the ones we've seen before. So we just thought it was a bit more magical. And even when we went out at the ride, we actually turned up and Jack Sparrow was there greeting guests from the balcony. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
And even outside the Pirates, the theming of it is incredible. Where the big skull is, Skull Rock is outside of it. You've got a big pirate ship. It's so much better themed in Paris than it is in Orlando. And just the whole ride was great.
Agreed. It was a lot of fun. And top snack?
The Dutch blood in me wants to say bitterballin', but I won't. I think for me, the popcorn. I think it might sound very basic, but that popcorn, there's something to add to that. I don't know what it is. It's so good. It's just so good. So if you're going past that car and you smell that popcorn, and you're about to watch the fireworks, get it. It's amazing. How about yourself?
Really enjoyed the popcorn. I would say, I'm going to cheat it a little bit. I'm going to say there's two. White chocolate covered marshmallows were super tasty to the fact that it's just a marshmallow covered in chocolate. It's not particularly anything fancy, but it was really, really good. And because it was so cute, the Groot cookie as well. It was very, very cool. And they've also got their Star Wars versions as well. I think it's a nice wee thing to get.
Now, we'll flip this around. What's the number one least favourite snack that you had? It's going to be the same for both of us because there's only one thing that we didn't enjoy.
The Mickey beignet was
disappointing.
It was basically like a really cheap, yucky,
not very tasty
donut.
Greasy,
Had a really funny taste as well, just not for us.
I would, if you have a beignet, this isn't top tier beignet. I would say leave that. There's much better things. And least favourite attraction. Again, it's going to be the same for both of us.
The Alice in Wonderland maze was awful. Again, I think it's when we hit it.
Considering we were there when the parks were quieter, in the height of summer, I think that would be an absolute nightmare to try and go through. If it's bad enough when you're there and it's quieter, tight spaces.
It was just a very stressful experience. So if you're going to check out that maze, just be prepared that it could be a bit on the busy side, we shall say.
But special mention to the Snow White attraction for being the most confusing ride. Where
it was bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
A bit where it seems that...
Coming over mittens. You coming to see? Oh no. Oh yes.
Oh, he's away. So you've got a bit on the ride where it seems the Evil Queen is won, and then they open the door, and then all of a sudden everyone's happy again. So yeah, Mittens has come to say it's time to wrap up because it's time for my dinner. That's what he's saying. But yeah, I think to wrap this off, we think that Disneyland Paris is worth a visit in 2025? Oops. I think the answer would be yes. If you want a little bit of Disney magic, Disneyland Paris is still fantastic. Yes. You had a great time there. There is construction, but rides are great. There's really good food in the restaurants. Yeah.
Wait times we were really impressed with. Again, we went off peak, so it's not going to necessarily be the same if you go during peak summer holidays. But again, have a look at that app and kind of give that as your guide ahead of time.
If you're going in February, wrap up warm.
Oh, yes.
Is cold. Yeah.
Very, very cold.
If you think you need 2 layers, add a third, and you might still be cold. So yeah, bear that in mind. Yeah. But the Disney Magic is Disney Magic.
Definitely, I would say it's certainly when you go into Disneyland itself, I kind of felt the magic more going on there because you just get that sort of Main Street feel. But yes, absolutely, whether it's a case of I just say if you're wanting to top up on that magic, or if you've never been to Disney before and you're kind of wanting to see what it's all about, it's definitely a very good option to factor in. Definitely. And if you're travelling from the UK or Europe, it's also a lot shorter time to get to.
Plus it's in one of the best cities in the world in terms of food. If you go into Disneyland Paris, some of the food in there is fantastic.
Which again, we encourage you to go and do that while you're there. If you've taken the trip, go have a little look at Paris. About 45 minutes on the train from Disney, and it was what, €250 per person for a single. Not bad at all.
Yeah, you've got the Eiffel Tower, you've got Notre Dame, you've got the Louvre. Fantastic places that you can see in our vlogs. We'll show you how to get there, what to go around and see. But yeah, overall, an amazing trip that we had. And we're sad that that's now come to the end of this vlog series.
But again, if you are watching this off the back of having watched the vlog series, thank you very much. If you're new around here, hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more of our faces, there are subscribe, and there are the Paris vlogs and there's the Orlando vlogs as well. So if you'd like to go check those out, it'd be much appreciated.
Check us out on Instagram. If you've got any questions, you can hit us up there, hit us up in the comments.
Absolutely. So yeah, feel free to send us a message on Instagram if you're not comfortable and to pop it down in the comments below. We will come back to you as well. But yes, thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.